Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to Exploratorium Berlin, and thank you very much for coming to this occasion. This is the opening event for our upcoming symposium, Filming Improvisation, Improvising with Film, with the title Sound and Lecture number 25, Film, Sound, Improvisation. And basically this is already the topic, what the symposium is all about. Organizing a concert is one thing, but setting up a whole conference with so many people involved is really special. It's only happening once a year here at Exploratorium, but we have it regularly. The symposia, always end of January, beginning of February. And one whole weekend, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to tonight and the next 2 days also. I'm hoping that many of you will also drop by for a bit in the next 2 days. If you are not registered for the symposium anyway, you don't necessarily have to be registered, it's open. And so you can simply choose what you would like to attend and come only for these selected parts. For example, there are 3 complete film screenings by Helen Petz tomorrow morning, by Germaine tomorrow evening, and by Ebba Jan on Sunday morning. The symposium is most of all arranged around the question of how to document improvisation and how this can be done in a specific manner, either mirroring the aesthetic approach in a way or finding its own form, which aims for new and maybe special correspondences between the arts. Today, we will in a way take a historic path and go back to the roots of film, to the times where there was no film sound yet, and when improvising music along the films was the thing to do. And I'm very happy to have Eunice Martins here for this occasion. She is a silent film pianist since many years, deeply rooted in combining classical techniques of silent film accompaniment with improvisational and experimental approaches. She was so kind to put together an ensemble which consists of Berz, percussion, Cecilia Tallone, hurdy-gurdy, and Wong, guitar. They also play electronics, most of them. Also, she has chosen the films that we are going to see tonight, and the films are, you have them in the program, but I also read them in the order in which they will come. Lea et il gomitolo by Lea Giunchi Guillaume from 1930, Rhythmus 21 by Hans Richter from 1921, La Marche des Machines by Eugene Deslaw from 1928, Etude cinégraphique sur une Arabesque by Germaine Dulac from 1929, and then Chromaticité from Patrice Kirchhofer from 1977. Just a few technical things. There will be a break in between, so we start with the films and the music, and then there's a break, and afterwards the artist talk with Eunice. In between, you can help yourself with drinks. The prices are shown, and you can just put in the money for them by yourself. Please switch off all your mobile phones if you haven't done so yet. And later there's also CDs which you can look at or even better buy from the musicians themselves. And that's it from me for the moment. Please welcome Eunice Martins, Wong, Cecilia Tallone, and Berz. Welcome back to the Artist Talk with Eunice Martins. Thank you very much, first of all, for the music and for the concept also for this evening, I must say. I didn't really have to do a lot for this evening, actually. I know Eunice for quite a while already. Maybe I can do some advertisement right now. So here at Exploratorium, we have a reading circle on improvisation literature once a month, which is online. And a few years ago already, I got an email from Eunice also, who wanted to participate. And since then, we meet each month, more or less, to talk about improvisation topics. So I know also that she's a good thinker and theoretician. And I was pretty amazed to have her in the reading circle, knowing that she's a silent film pianist and also since 2000, for example, working for the Kino Arsenal, which is a really important and very famous program cinema. Do you say like this in English? So there has this been idea of also for a few years already to do a symposium on film and improvisation. And so we've been in contact about this idea since 3 years, I would say. And finally it's happening that you are here. So that's really great. I'm very happy about this. So yes, as you have seen, Eunice is a silent film pianist and sound artist specialized in the live accompaniment of silent films and experimental films, as well as composing music and sound design for film and VR productions. And she studied piano and composition at the Berlin UDK, Universität der Künste, University of the Arts, and she has performed in film theaters, festivals and other cultural institutions worldwide. So maybe as a start, Eunice, what has fascinated you so much in playing music for silent movies that you have decided to make this your profession? How was your artistic path into this realm of playing live music to silent movies?
First of all, thank you for having me. It was really a blast, I must say. And I'm very happy to be here. And also just as a last thing, thank you to the Cinégraphique di Bologna, who allowed me to use the first film, Lea and her ball of wool, to show it without having to pay a fee. So thank you to the Cinégraphique. So my journey was like most of the silent film musicians of my generation, I have to say by now, by accident. It happened by accident, and then I realized, I really like to operate on the border of two artistic forms. So to have a communication between film and the sound world, however this might be. And I realized that this is the point or the space where I'm really interested in that space, not being only in one or only in the other, and it's also communicating with other art forms like literature, dance, whatever. So it's really this kind of two forms meet and start a dialogue, and this is something that I really like and I'm interested in. So then I just continue to do it, and when you start to get invited to play, okay, then you go along. You don't say no. Yeah.
There's a long history between film and playing music live in cinema. What role or what place would you say did improvisation take in this history? So can you maybe give a few examples how improvising music for films has developed?
You mean historically?
Yeah, historically.
Yeah, yeah. So you can just imagine every new technical invention. For example, VR. That is relatively new still, so we can see in real time how artists start to work with it. And when film came up, with we had the brothers Skladanovsky and the Lumière brothers in Paris. Actually, the Berlin brothers were earlier. They already invented had a program in Wintergarten, Varieté Wintergarten here in Berlin, 1 month before the Frères Lumière in Paris debuted their program. So then nobody knew what do we do with it. What shall we do? It was shown in Varieté theaters because we had 1 minute snippets of film, 1 minute, 3 minutes. So in Varieté, usually you have a little ensemble, you have something going on, you have Foley people, you have an acrobat, you have a magician, you have things, and then you have a film. Okay, you play with it. Sometimes you don't play. Sometimes somebody's saying something, like a narrator, not something, explains something. And so they try to figure out what could work, what is interesting. And then we had the whole phase of the cinema, which was on fairground. It was like not in places in cinemas yet. So still they had the hurdy-gurdy, the Leierkasten, and all mechanical instruments as well. And then came the moment when they decided, okay, now we are going to have cinemas. And then they had musicians. And it was, they played what they played in the varietés. And then in the cinemas, okay, let's just improvise a little bit. Let's find some pieces and adjust them to what is shown. It was a very open situation, and they tried out a lot. So the improvisation, which was at that time a common feature for every musician was able to improvise. Nowadays it's possible again. I mean, when I studied, there was no improvisation taught in the classical studies. So I had to kind of start to find something myself. Nowadays, there's a lot of improvisation going on in the Hochschule, like in the art and music. How do you say that? Hochschule? I don't know in English. Actually, conservatory. So there was always this element of improvisation. But then the more the cinema became commercial and interesting in terms of making money, the more the need for written scores came in. Because then you could know everywhere they would hear the same stuff. So the improvisation was something which was in a moment to be heard when they were still kind of trying to figure out how what would be the best music for film. So that's basically a little bit. It's a bit placative. How do you say that? It's like not very detailed what I say now, but that's the gist of it.
But in a way, it was also this whole environment of the variété, where there was anyway a lot of improvisation going on in all the forms that came together there, probably.
Yes. That's and the variety, of course, is also one day someone decided, okay, we're gonna improvise on that theme. Next day it's another one, and then it's like very it was very open in a way.
Talking about the history, what have been your thoughts in compiling the program for tonight like this, going back especially to the 1910s and 1920s?
So when you invited me and said, okay, we are going to do it, that was like a year ago, I think, and then in summer you kind of confirmed it, okay, we are going to do it, and then I thought, oh my goodness, I have to put together a program. I have, of course, my absolutely beloved films, like the first film is, I adored this film, so I thought, okay, this one is going to be in. And then I wanted to basically show a little bit of a variety of what silent film could be or was at that time. It's a wide span of years. It's like the first film is 1913, and then we end up with in 1929. So it's a huge development, filmic in the what considers the film and the visual culture and the way of filming. The film of Dulac is also one of my favorite films. And then, of course, there had to be an avant-garde film from the German avant-garde, like Hans Richter or Egeling, and then at some point it was clear, okay, that we don't have that long of a program, and then I absolutely wanted to include also an experimental film of contemporary, almost contemporary. I mean, 1970, yeah, almost contemporary. To me, it feels it's contemporary because I had the luck to meet and work with Patrice Kirchhofer himself, and so to me it's like contemporary, but of course. The film is from 1977, and it's an experimental film, and he himself created also sound scores, soundtracks, and also practiced performances with film and live sound. So that was the common denominator. And when I met him, I asked him if he would allow me to take this film and show it and do a live music sound. And that's the thing you have to ask, of course, filmmakers who live have to give their consent that you do this, otherwise you get in trouble. So I was very lucky, and the idea was to include also the more or less contemporary culture of having moving image and live sound and improvised sound.
Yeah, I found the choice really fascinating because it has so many different elements in it. The first one, you have this kind of anti-bourgeois character, and then there's the abstract tradition with Hans Richter. You have the industrialization era with La Marche des Machines, and then this kind of impressionistic film, how it's depicting nature, for example, but it's still in a very special way, and also a bit late for impressionism, maybe, but still it has this jest in a way, where you also reacted to it musically always. And yes, then of course with Chromaticité, this approach that you have just explained. So it was a good choice in all this diversity that you took. So when you are improvising with the films, what is the relation to the film? The film itself doesn't change. We were talking about this yesterday, and then I got a time schedule, and was really excited to always press the button in the right time. It worked out. But there's this time frame, of course. The films themselves, they have a time frame, but there's a certain structure which you don't have in free improvisation. Still, you're improvising a lot. Yesterday, when we were talking, you said, "Well, the film still changes," which I found a really interesting observation also. So maybe could talk about this relation between composed improvised elements which are necessary. You need to know the film in advance to react to it in a proper way, but still you improvise at the same time.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. Maybe I start with how I understand the situation in the setup we are in. So what I understand myself, like I understand this setup like a trio. We have the film, who's doing what the film does. Then I do the sound, and then I have the audience. And what I said about the film changes, it's also for me to notice how the audience reacts to the film, and how and I'm on the side of the film, but sometimes I'm also on the side of the audience. I kind of react to both players in a way, and the film can change in terms of what I said yesterday was how you see it, because let's be clear, that idea of having a film which is like that and never changes was not the case at that time. And again, it's like that because we have this phenomenon of director's cut and whatnot, and many changes even in commercial long feature films. So the idea there is an opus, and this is like unchanged through the centuries, is fictional. It's a fiction, and at that time also we have many different prints. So we had this situation when I gave you the time codes, and I said, look, the print we got for this one is actually longer than the one I had in mind, because it comes from another distributor. So you have to anyways react to what the film, the length of the film, the quality of the film. So when you now I'm going to talk about how I approach a film. It's always about what captures you, because it's not necessarily the narration, because we didn't have narrative films. Maybe the first one had a little, but basically it was exhibiting the technique of speeded up movement. That was the idea. That's why it is so long. She has to go through all the rooms, but of course it heightens this idea of destruction of the bourgeois idea of a woman's life. Of course, that makes it joyful to watch, that she goes through every room and doesn't stop. So you have a narration, maybe, but sometimes the narration is not in the most interesting part. And sometimes it's really the quality of the light, the rhythm of the editing, or the rhythms in the image, in every frame. So every one of us who plays with a film is choosing something which kind of, okay, I'm gonna connect with that, and then let's see where we go. And then of course you have things where the film wants some help. In the case of silent films, we have sometimes fragments, sometimes something is missing. So what you do is, okay, I need to do something that the audience doesn't think, oh, there's something missing. Yeah, I don't get it. So I have to do something to make it understand, or to kind of ease it out, or whatever. It's very there's a wide variety of things you can do. And so you choose something, and then you gather. I gather ideas and elements, and then I play with these elements, and that's what we also did with my lovely colleagues. Thank you for playing with me. It's the first and most important thing is to understand the film. That we kind of agree on what do we see, and what do we want to connect with, and what do we actually are we somehow on the same page, and if we are not, could we have both pages present? And then so you understand the film, and then you think, okay, where do we want to go? What is the material? Everyone gathers material. Everyone we had an idea. We said, okay, there we want to be as loud as possible, as dense as possible, as intense as possible, and every one of us had his or her solution, and several elements, and then we agreed on a concept. We didn't agree on you play D flat there or you play this here, but we agreed on material and a concept, and then we inside of that concept we were still able to move around and to change things up or mix things up.
Yeah, so anyway, in a group, when you come together to improvise, you have to somehow come together and find your common or your joint language in a way. But here you have this external source that you have to relate to, and so you also might need to change what you would usually do when you improvise together.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different from playing alone. It's so much more relaxed.
Lie back a little bit.
Yeah, it's really and there's so many more sonic spaces which are heard when or different ideas, other ideas. But the thing I wanted to say about the changing the film, I just remembered that I wanted to say something about it. Sorry. I don't know if anyone in the audience watched a silent movie in a cinema already. If not, what can happen is that you watch a film and you think, oh my god, it's so long, it's so boring, I can't. And there's someone playing nicely. And you think, and then you watch the film with somebody else is playing, and you think, wow, this is the greatest film I ever saw. How could I not see? And I heard something like that from film researchers and film scholars who watch films really frequently and who should know about that phenomenon. So a film can change of course, how you see it and how you feel it. Not the material, of course.
Yeah, sure. There's the idea of the reception aesthetics and the point of view, which also changes. So also for one single person, the film can change. Of course, you get to know it better, but always you discover new things also. Yeah, maybe I'm not the only one who would like to ask something to Eunice. Otherwise, I was also curious about the use of rhythm, because this was really interesting in the films, because there were really rhythmic elements in several films, so like Hans Richter, of course, then the machines, how they were working, and then also Patrice Kirchhofer, who had very different rhythms. And it was really interesting to see how you related to them, because they were not always corresponding. So this was, of course, intentional. But how do you relate to this these rhythmic elements?
Of course, this is like the first thing that jumps at you when you work with film. Either the rhythm of the editing or the rhythm in the images. So you are very tempted to go along with it, but then what you would do is just to do the same as the image, and that's not necessarily interesting because we can do something else. And the most fascinating thing for the early filmmakers was actually that the sound could do something else than the movie, than the film, than the visuals. And nowadays we are so used through the commercial films we are trained on that when there's a cow, it's mooing or something. When there's a dog, it's you have this doubling redundancy, and so what I find interesting is the image has rhythm, but I can do something else. Sometimes I can go with it or against it, or I just have a completely other rhythm. I go outside of that, and that's what creates what. I think Alexander Kluge said it. The real film happens in between two frames, and I say the real film happens where you hear it with every audience member, and where the in between the music and the visual and the audience member. So there's the film and the sound that is happening. It's not what I do, what the film is, or it's something hybrid or new that comes to life.
I would have a question.
You have a question? I will come with a microphone. Just a moment, please.
Yeah, well, as you have pointed out that
Is it on?
No.
Is it not working? No, the microphone is not working. Okay. Can I also talk loudly? That's possible. It should be possible. I try again. Well, I try with my own voice. It's loud enough, I think. As you were pointing out that it's not always synchronized, like what you're playing and what is seen there visually. I already had before the question, like, what is your relationship between your motorics and your visual perception? Because I watched you over there, and I saw, like, okay, she's really into the film. Like, what is this blending area where you are? I wonder if you have ever reflected on that, because I saw you playing there, and I was like, okay, are you synchronizing with it, or where are you? You know, when you are improvising. It's a broad question, but I don't know if you have ever reflected on the relationship of your motorics and your visual perception.
I mean, the question of musicians' motorics is actually a research subject. I don't know if you refer to that.
No,
I'm not familiar with it, but how musicians, what actually is the movement in playing whatever instrument you play. Actually, I never thought about it, but I of course you have movements you do because you want to play something specific, and you need maybe strength or a position which makes it easier or easy, then maybe you refer to the Dulac, where I had these big arm movements suddenly.
No.
I also watched myself and thought, oh, okay.
So this is where you are when you improvise, I see. Well, no, I mean, I just was just at the beginning already when I watched you, and I saw me personally, I saw like the relationship between the instrument you and the film. And now when you were talking about that it's not always synchronized, it's triggered me again to ask this question, what I have seen, and I don't know if
I mean, what I can add is that, of course, sound. I feel sound in my body. So, and then there is when I see something and I think, okay, I'm gonna do this. This is like sometimes I really can say it's not happening through my brain. It's like a very bodily reaction. Of course, it's happening with my eyes and my arms, and so there is a connection, but I cannot really. I never analyze it actually. But very frankly, but it's interesting, and the movie. You're coming from dance, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So the movement in when you play is, of course, has to do with a flow. That's kind of a flow, and then you. But sometimes also the movement in musicians' bodies is something which has to be stopped, because I remember one of my first teachers said, "Don't move, you lose energy." Because actually, in piano you are very comfortable. It's one of the most comfortable instruments actually. You sit down and you just have your arms there, and so that was. I actually thought about it yesterday about this, and that sometimes I think no, but the movement is part of the music. It's like part of the coming to life of the sound. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Any more questions? I'll give you one.
Thank you. My little lousy English, I try. Okay. Did I understand you right? That you had, in a way, a fellow understanding what you want to perform, music with the loud sounds for films. So you don't know actually what everyone is doing. So it's a surprise, or it's you came together. You have to find the other one, because I think it's fascinating for people, and then something, and then you have to come inside, and you don't know if the third comes inside or the second.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's the work we did since we met for the first rehearsal. Is okay, and then of course I say no, I don't want this or that. I don't want chords on the guitar. No. or other things. Or Eric had the idea for actually the structural idea for the last film, how to solve it, because we really struggled to come together in how to have a concept which worked and which didn't sound random. Because the thing is, of course, anybody could sit down and play something. No problem. Trained musician, improviser has no problem. But the question is it merging and creating something new with the film? And that doesn't necessarily happen. So we were trying. That was my interest to. Okay, what can we do to make something third happen? Something. So, and that's of course there are elements of surprises. Of course.
But you always find a solution. I mean, I just imagine if I was someone of you, and then I hear this, and I don't know if I would be like. Perhaps in my own flow, and then I get this other input of the others. Isn't it sometimes very, very difficult to combine your own flow in this?
Not really. It's a question of doing it again and again, and then at some point, sometimes you even anticipate what could come. That's the most interesting situation when you think now is probably coming this, and then it comes without even agreeing. It's not. It's we don't have a score. We didn't have. Yeah.
It's even possible to learn improvisation here at Exploratorium. Many workshops and courses. So if you feel like
you have to do it steadily every week.
It's possible.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, more questions?
Yeah.
You take the mic.
Yeah.
Well, it's related to what you just said also, but I was wondering if there are any films that actually do not invite for sound. That there will be silent films which are in themselves complete works and are not inviting to put sound on it.
I mean, you could say that Hans Richter is such a film.
That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah. And I did actually some research because I was wondering about the avant-garde. Did they actually perform these films with sound or not at the time? And it was this 1925, it's UFA here in Berlin. And I found they had a piano player. And they only showed Viking Eggeling, Hans Richter, Walter Rothmann, and all these avant-garde films, and they had a piano player. So I thought, okay, they didn't solve that riddle, but I know that so what we did yesterday. I digress a bit from your question. Yesterday we were trying out if we could leave this whole film silent. Mm-hmm. That was an idea because I like in 2013 and 15 and 16 I think I did 3 programs called Pieces for the Archive, and it was a program of experimental films, really only experimental films from the collection of the Arsenal, and I created a live composition with 2 other musicians, and we also did it like here with continuous, or like it was a whole piece with the films. And I also wanted to include Stan Brakhage, and Stan Brakhage is a filmmaker who refuses to have sound, and of course I left it silent, of course, which works. And so you have the films where you know that they are not supposed to have sound. And so coming back to the Rhythm 21 yesterday, I then decided, okay, I'm gonna start playing because, not that I'm thinking that this audience couldn't handle 3.5 minutes silence, but what I experienced over the course of the past 6, 7, 8 years is that a large audience kind of being able to sit in silence for 3.5 minutes becomes increasingly difficult and causes a lot of stress. And since my interest was to open up a line of being able to perceive this film, I thought, okay, I'm gonna come in when he had exposed all his elements, with which he was then creating variations. And then I thought, okay, let's think like a fugue, and then come in like another voice. So that was kind of a way of thinking. But of course, there are films which can easily be shown in silence, but as I said, I don't know. I mean, I have an idea why it's the case that it's not everywhere. It's in Europe, I'd say. There is really a difficulty to support or to endure silence and to see something, a filmic image without sound. It's not everywhere on the globe. So, yeah.
Maybe there's one last question. And yeah, okay.
Hello, thank you very much. That was an amazing concert. I was really struck by the one with all the machines and how that one seemed like the musical timbres were so much more sometimes aligning with the materiality that we were seeing on screen, and so that's one with the kind of pulsing techno as well. So it was like we've arrived in Berlin. It was really nice. I wondered what you thought, maybe as an observer, as an audience member, of the kind of last few decades, some art house cinema that seems to be kind of musicalizing sound design rather than relying on musical score. And some of those films are quite alienating, like Gus Van Sant's films that have really long stretches, like almost simulating like Bela Tarr's kind of just rhythmic footsteps, and you hear just the grain of the sand. And other films like Mother by Darren Aronofsky, I think Johan Johansson ended up just turning down his musical score to nearly inaudible, and almost like rendering the composer like obsolete. And it can make, as you were saying, a really uncomfortable experience for the audience. Or like some other directors like Harmony Korine using dialogue like mantras, almost like turning dialogue into EDM and things like electronic dance music. So I just wondered what your thoughts were on those kind of trends in the last few decades about using sound effects or ambience as music, that kind of thing, because the spatialization of sounds around here was really cool as well. So anyway, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'm always fascinated by that, because I think that's also my approach to when I'm asked to do a soundtrack for a film, that I work with actually the sounds which are recorded in the film, and then I create a score out of it. So it's not, I musicalize the sound. So it's something which I find very interesting, which I find intriguing. But concerning the sounds and the sound work or the musical work in the of late, I think there is a trend that to do a lot and to do a lot of time kind of, and it's not necessarily needed. And of course there are these, then there's also this question about commercial viability, which then demands a specific style of music. I mean, was also confronted with that. Okay, we need this to sound familiar, so that it's a familiar sound, sonic world, and you cannot do something which they don't know. So it's really like that, and so it's an exploration of the unknown, but very subtle. So and it goes in mini steps. And I think when you think about the liberation of sound design with New Hollywood, which was of course started with Apocalypse Now and all Star Wars and all that, we came already a long way concerning that, and I find that pretty amazing. What I find difficult is always what you then have to do to be commercially viable. And that's where it starts to be twisted and alienating, or what you meant. I don't know if I answered your question, but that's...
I found this was a very inspiring and enlightening talk, and also the whole evening. Thank you very much again, Eunice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming. So when you're registered for the symposium, you will be here anyway, and if you feel like dropping by just for a few parts, we'll be glad to welcome you here as well. Here are still a few CDs for sale if you are interested in this. And yes, thanks again, and till soon.